Flight boss, bitch. For sure. You're not listening to the Mind of Terry Smooth. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And we're going to talk about the hidden planet Vulcan. The hidden planet Vulcan. Now, before we even get into any discussion that people like to get into, once we start to talk about history, the date, who came up with the name, who discovered it, and things of that nature, this is what you need to understand before you get lost into that energy signature, right? You need to understand that there's a beneath the scene, there's a beneath the veil, there's a behind the scene realm to everything. So any shape and form that you see in front of you, that energy signature is backed and supported by a spiritual nature, a higher dimension nature. So understanding that, you'll be able to clearly understand what's going on. So the reason I brought that up is because of this. People need to understand that any man, woman, or creature that walks this star that y'all want to call Earth, they are not creating anything. They're only discovering things. Men and women are not creating things. They are discovering things amongst a realm of reality of a bunch of creations that predated you. Remind you, you was born into a realm of reality amongst a bunch of creations that was here before you. So the moment you utilize your little small creativity, right, that's besides the fact. When you can utilize your own small version of creativity to apply it to this large creative imagination that we are in, which y'all want to call a world. But for the most part, the better you understand that, the more we bring all our collective understanding of our discoveries, the better the world will be. The more we dive into the energy signature of thinking man and woman created something, then we have to dive into this person's personality and if they even worth listening to and things of that nature. That's getting into lostness. Then you got to discuss debates of who created what created this, and what was this, that, and the third. Well, you need to understand that you are just utilized as a vessel to play out these energy signatures. So the better we play out that we're just discovering things and we're not creating things, the better you could take your little small portion of your creation and apply it to the overall what we're discovering, and the better the world will be. You see what I'm saying? So that's just taking people out of that. Now, before we even get in to the planet Vulcan, you also need to understand what a hypothetical is. Now, everybody know how to apply a hypothetical or make a hypothesis amongst something. So everybody know what that is in the third dimension, right? But what you're not understanding in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, this is a baby creation. This is a orb, you can say. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing. This is backed and supported by sex. So sex is nothing more, nothing less but the joining of two energies to create another energy. Now, everything does that. This is not exclusive to male and female. So you need to understand that. So anytime the joining of two energies come together, it creates another energy. Now, in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, this is how a hypothetical is looked at. You see what I'm saying? When, for an example, say you're making a hypothetical in a third dimension, right? You're taking a conversation or a subject matter, right? And you're conflating it or comparing it with something that doesn't necessarily has anything to do with the situation or circumstance, but you are applying it and you're trying to make sense out of it. So out of the situation that you're conversating about. So in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, what's actually going on is you're taking the energy, aka the conversation and the concept that you're trying to make sense out of, right? That's an energy in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension. You're taking that light body, that conscious body, and then you're taking another energy from another concept, another conscious, right? And you're combining the two to make sense out of something that you're trying to conflate in the third dimension. Now, here's the thing, or compare in the third dimension. Now, in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, you just joined two energies and created another energy. Now, that small little orb, that small little energy you created between the two energies you compared together, that hypothesis, that was an orb. That is a creation. And that creation is like a baby, is like an infant. It's at its infant stage. And the information in that light holds the two energies you compare together. For an example, when your mother and father come together, those two energies to come together to create you. So look at that as a hypothetical in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm. So you join two energies and you made an infant energy, right? So that infant is impact with the two informations that you joined together, the two energies that you joined together. So that infant orb, that's what you would look at as a hypothetical. So this what makes Vulcan a hypothetical planet. You see what I'm saying? Because it hasn't had enough experience. The orb is not big enough. It has not grown enough. It is not dense enough to be seen as visible. So at this stage, is this a hypothetical? But in a third dimension, y'all look at hypotheticals at not being real or not being physical or not being realistic in the realm of reality. It's just like a metaphor, right? But in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that's the world it stays in. And it actually is physical there. You get what I'm saying? So this what makes Vulcan a hypothetical planet. You see what I'm saying? It is not a big enough orb, or it is not an energy signature with enough energy impacting it for you to be able to perceive it third dimensional wise. So for the most part, it will be seen, it will be perceived as unseen compared to the realm of reality and the conscious bodies you have created for yourself. Y'all with me? Now let's get into Vulcan. Now Vulcan itself, right, is an energetic planet or orb, or infant orb at its infant stage, or energy signature that lies and rotate in between Mercury and the sun. You see what I'm saying? So it's a creation made by Mercury and the sun. So it's the energetic force of the sun and the energetic force of Mercury coming together, and the orb in between starts a rotation or an energy signature or a pattern. And then that's what scientists are calling, or esoteric astrologers are calling, Vulcan at the moment. You see what I'm saying? Now the person who may have discovered it or came up with the mathematical attributes to pick up that energy signature, the same way how we come up with technology, 9 times out of 10, this actual orb is going to be named after this person. So it's not going to be that uncommon for the person who came up with it for it to be named after them. That's why a lot of people who come up with satellites and things of that nature, the satellites be named after them. You see what I'm saying? Now, understanding the energy of Vulcan. Now we're going to get into this, because I need y'all to understand it's at its infant stage right now. So I say in like the next 1,000 or 2,000 years, you guys, or whatever civilization that walks this star, will start applying this to you guys' natal charts or your astrological readings. And you guys will be sufficient enough on the energy signature and be able to pick it up enough to be able to apply it like an asteroid or something. And who knows, at this time, 2,000 years later, if enough energy is put into that energy signature amongst the people who are walking the star, it may actually start to be physical. And y'all actually see it in a physical rotation like y'all see Mercury and everything else. You get it? So for the most part, now we're going to get into Vulcan. We're going to get into understanding the energy of it. Now, since it's between the sun and Mercury, that lets you know that this orb, this energy signature, is created by the sex of Mercury and the sun. So the information, the orb of Vulcan, is going to consist of these two energies. So for the most part, 2,000 years from now, this is how they're going to break down the energy. Y'all know I'm Archangel Uriel. Y'all know I'm already ahead of time and before time. So I'm going to already kick it down to y'all right now. Now, what does the sun represents, right? The ability to see. Because when the sun come out, you get to see the realm of reality that you are in a moment. When you're facing another way and the sun is in another direction, aka what y'all call setting, or when the sun is going down, y'all are not perceiving the light or the imagination to be able to see the realm or the current or the waters that you are in, aka this world that you are in. So you're seeing it from the dark beneath the seen veil. Right? This is why higher dimensional vessels are able to be seen better when you're not blocked by the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional vessel that's closest to us, aka the sun. Now, for the most part, the sun is carrying off the energy signature of action, being able to act, because when you're action itself causes transformation. Action is you can see something transforming. That's the energy signature of action. So action deals with feeling and hot feeling, the temperature of hot, because that lets shit melt or transform. And anytime something is at that current state, that high vibrational current state, it is able to emit what y'all want to call photons or light, but it's really just a spectrum of an energy signature being paid attention to so much that it emit an imagination, a spectrum from it. And this is what y'all can use, this is what y'all made from, so y'all utilize that and call it reality. But for the most part, it's just what the sun is emitting. So the sun is what you're able to view. How you see things, what other people can see from you, what you're consciously aware of, your ego and your inspiration and your imagination, which in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension, that will be your fire. You know what I'm saying? That chakra wheel where it emits your fire. And for the most part, the more you put into your passion, intuition, your creativity, it creates a fire. And people can see it dance in the realm of reality, aka people can see your creativity take existence in some way, shape, or form. So that's fire. And that's the sun. Now, when you look at Mercury, what is Mercury? Mercury is dealing with the intellect. You can even see the chemical attributes of the element Mercury. But when you see the spiritual fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional aspect of it, it comes from the ability to utilize your intellect and to think. and to be able to communicate. So there's communication doesn't even necessarily is just backed and supported by verbal communication. There's many different levels of communication. You know what I'm saying? Mercury taps you into all of this, and being able to connect metaphor, aka being able to construct come up with a form, aka a thought form of what's actually going on in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm, where there's actually, that's the realm of shapeless and formless and non-orderless and non-flammable things. You know what I'm saying? So in the third dimension, since you're in flammable things and in things that take construct and shape and form, with the mental Mercury body, you're able to use metaphor and analyze and create a tethering cord. Mercury is like your tethering cord from the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimension to here. That's a body, that's a vessel. That's why it's correlated to your veins and things of that nature, and you're able to analyze. See, key word, analyze. That's an eye. All of these are eyes. Your eardrums, eyes, heart, everything. All of these are eyes, wheels, conscious bodies, water currents, stars, light spectrums, light bodies, whatever the fuck y'all want to call them, but they're all the same thing. Just whatever realm of reality you are in, that's the word you're going to use for it, and that's how you're going to explain it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in all dimensions, so I come in many different shapes and forms, so I can explain it into many different fashions and many different frequency vibrations, so the whole RAM could be able to understand it, depending on what scale or what ladder scale each and one of you are. If you're on a high one or a low one, I'm able to explain it in a way that you all can be able to perceive it. You see what I'm saying? Now, Mercury, I just utilized the Mercury. You know what I'm saying? That's intellect, being able to utilize metaphor, put together puzzles, make a ladder, make a portal, and to be able to intellectually construct what's going on with the shapeless and formless. To put a square, to put a line, to put a shape and form onto the circle. That taps you into Mercury. So Mercury is dealing with the intellect and conceptualizing. You know what I'm saying? Keyword, eyes. Mercury was one of the vehicles you created to start creating the other eyes. You see what I'm saying? So, since Vulcan is a creation, an orb in between, right? Now, the energy signature, you have to, since, like I said, you have to make sex out of it. So, the joining of two energies create a new energy. So, since Vulcan is like a fairly new energy, just because you perceived it after you perceived a lot of the energies that came together to create that one, that lets you know that it was after the fact. Now, it's a lot older than you and the person who discovered it, but 9 times out of 10, Vulcan itself was a creation after the ones that we have discovered before the fact, like the sun and the moon and all, and Mercury. So those was there first because we got the information of that first. So you have to psychologically understand that those was manifested first also. Now, when we get into Vulcan, isn't in between Mercury and the sun. So bringing those two energies together, what creates Vulcan. So once you got all the sun energy that I create, that I just broke down for y'all, and all the Mercury energy, Vulcan has no choice but to be utilized with both of those energies. So if you want to break it down, 2,000 years from now, they will break it down into y'all natal chart as it being your visualization. So Vulcan is how you visualize. Now, ain't this fucking crazy? Because I'm sitting down breaking down the energy, right? And I had no choice but to come up with the word visualize. But the goddamn secret planet is named Vulcan. So whoever discovered it's like it was meant to be. That's all I can say. Once you start to understand the spirit realm, you start to understand that, okay, things are just meant to be in certain ways. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter the vessel and who was utilized to use it. Let's not get lost into that. Let's understand that, okay, this energy signature was coming to us regardless. You see what I'm saying? Now, regardless of the shape and form, person, place, or thing that energy utilized to come into existence, it's manifesting larger and larger. So we got more and more information of it now. Now, Vulcan, that's crazy. So Vulcan represents how you visualize. So you know how sun is your actions, the way you act. Moon is how you react in your state of being and how you respond to the world that you are in. Mercury is how you think, your intellect. Venus is how you love, appreciate, and value. Mars is your intent, passion, and motivation. Vulcan is how you visualize. God damn it. Because look, the sun is your actions, the way you act, and how you see things. So it's like your visions. And then Mercury is how you think and how you analyze. So it's your intellect, how you analyze. So when you bring your visions and analyzing together, you got visualizations. A person who is trying to communicate their visions, who is trying to take their visions and understand it intellectual wise, trying to intellectually understand their visions. See what I'm saying? So Vulcan represents visualizations. It's how a person visualize. So if you have Vulcan, so pretty much when y'all start to break it down within y'all signs, right? Let's break it down elemental wise. If you are a person who have Vulcan in water, right? This will be a person who likes to visualize amongst the emotions and feelings amongst the world. So this is a person who constantly like to visualize emotions and feelings, or like to apply emotions and feelings to their visions, their visualize. For an example, a person who got a lot of air may like to visualize their visions intellectual-wise. A person with Vulcan and water would like to utilize their visions within water spectrum. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times a person's visions may not make sense, but a person may have psychic visions when they got Vulcan and water. And depending on the modality, that's how they play out their visions. Their visions will be in a mutable way of Vulcan and Pisces. Their visions will be in a cardinal way of Vulcan and Cancer. Their visualizations will be in a fixated way if it's in Scorpio. So a person may have stubborn visions in Scorpio. Person may have creative and initiated and leader-like visions if it's in Cancer. Person may have mutable and relatable visions in Pisces. So a person would be highly creative with a Vulcan and Pisces. See what I'm saying? Vulcan and fire. This will be a person whose visualizations is fiery, passionate. Vulcan and air. A person, these visions, they like it to make sense and like to be analyzed and communicated. This is a person who likes to communicate their visions. Vulcan and earth. This is a person who likes to make sense out of their visions, like to practicalize their visions, make something out of their visions, make their visions useful. This will be the people who are center stage, creative people in their lives. You know what I'm saying? People who could take their visions and make money off of it real fast. This will be a Vulcan and an earth sign. And depending on the modality, that will be how they construct it. See, this is going to be in y'all natal chart. Y'all need to start understanding that. It's not yet. But like I said, I told you, I'm Archangel Uriel. I'm ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? So Vulcan represents your visualizations and what construct visions. Your ability to view things and your ability to act and imagine and your ability to act on your imagination and to have foresight in your psyche and the action what other people could view from you. That's your sun. And your ability to construct it, make sense and analyze it and communicate it effectively, or construct it in your head a way to the point that it becomes a good idea. That's Mercury. So boom, both of those together, that's your Vulcan. So to be able to construct what sign that Vulcan will be in, we would have to start to construct the astral travel of it. So since it's a baby orb and we know it's in between Mercury and the sun, then we have to apply wherever the sun is at and wherever Mercury is at. So 9 times out of 10, the sun placement dictate your Mercury placement. So your Mercury placement will either be in the sign of the sun or in the sign before it and the sign after it. It can't be 2 signs ahead based upon the actual natural travel, because the distance between Mercury and the sun is only so much of a distance that the tethering cord of the energy signature that they have together only expands between one sign. So Mercury can only be 1 sign before or after your sun sign or the sign in between, which states that Vulcan 9 times out of 10 is in the same scenario. You see what I'm saying? So at a baby infant stage as it is right now, we can say that it'll be in between the stages. So I'm going to make another video breaking down the actual travel of it so you can know what the degrees of it. But to know what actual sign you have Vulcan in, you need to know that 9 times out of 10 is going to be in the same sign as your sun sign. Because if Mercury can only be a sign before or ahead, and Vulcan is at its infant stages, then it has not expanded and contracted enough to be in a wide rotational stage to probably be a sign ahead or a sign before it yet. So 9 times out of 10, it's still stuck to the father, still stuck to the nutsack of the sun. You know what I'm saying? And it's still it's not even shot out yet to be physical as a fluid or as a shape and form. So your Vulcan is going to be in your sign of the same sign as the sun. See, when we talk about your earth sign is going to be in the sign opposite of your sun. It's always going to be in the sign opposite because it's the 3rd rock. So that rotation scale is a little different. And then here's where we have to start applying the moon. But that's another video. I got videos about your earth sign, and I'm gonna make some new ones for anyone who's new to my channel also. You know what I'm saying? Because your earth sign work as your opposite. It's your opposite. For an example, right? I'm an Aries, right? 17 degrees Aries. So my earth sign will be 13, let me see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20, 19, 18, 17. Yeah, so I will be a 13, because it's 3 degrees away from the 10 degree spectrum. So not only is your earth sign will be the opposite sign, but it will be the opposite degree also. So since I'm a 17 degrees Aries, my earth sign will be 13 degrees Libra, right? So these are things that I'm seeing take shape and form in front of me. Now, shapes and forms play out as obstacles or road blockages for a person who want to act in their true ego or act in their true nature. So anytime I act into my true sun sign, I'm always going to see a shape and form in front of me, aka an obstacle or something I have to get over, whether I look at it as an obstacle or not. The shape and form in front of me always is opposite because it's not me. So the energetic signatures that I always see in shapes and forms outside of me will be Libra-like energies. So a lot of times when I jump into my true sun sign, a shape and form will play as an obstacle first. And that obstacle play as in something that's trying to make me do something that I'm not naturally like doing. AKA the Libra energy. Be relatable. Conversate. Relate. Compromise. So when I jump too much into Aries, right, the shapes and forms in front of me will remind me that my earth sign is Libra. You get it? So but that's another video. I'm gonna break this. I'll break that down to y'all in another video. But for the most part, getting into Vulcan, right? So my Vulcan also will be Aries, right? So my visions is Aries-like. So my visions is passionate. My visions is based back and supported by my motives. So my visions could be motivational a lot of times for myself and others. Inspirational. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times it may not make sense because it's dealing with the right brain. Fire. You know what I'm saying? So it's the yang version of the right brain. So I like to express internal type things, which is spirit, inspiration, passion, motivation, intentions, alternative motives. These things are not external. These are tools to use to attract external things. So by default, fire is, oh shit. By default, I need something to drink. By default, fire plays out feminine. But in this realm of reality, fire will be the external masculine version of the feminine yin energy. You get what I'm saying? By default. Because the energy is backed and supported by is some shit that ain't even shape and form or realized yet. But once you utilize passion and motivation and intent and imagination and shit like that and utilize it and utilize action for it to be seen, it becomes masculine in this realm. But that's why you see fire playing out as masculine in this realm, but its nature is not masculine because it's not taking a shape and form. Once fire leaves, it leaves. Hey, go back to the yin realm. So when you want to break down Vulcan, you have to understand that it represents visualizations. It's how you visualize. And the sign that it's in is how you visualize. And how to correlate what sign that is in. Now, it can't leave far because it's in between Mercury and the sun. And you already know Mercury can't leave far. So 9 times out of 10, you could correlate Vulcan being. And I'm going to make a video to break down what actual degree. Because here's the thing. Depending on your sun sign may be on a cusp. Or 3 to 4 or 5 degrees of a sign. So that very possible your Vulcan could be in the sign before it. See what I'm saying? So if you have an early sun sign, it's very possible that your Vulcan could be in the sign before your sun sign. And that's it though. You know what I'm saying? We're going to break this shit down. We're going to break this esoteric 4th, 5th, and 6th dimensional shit down. Archangel Uriel and this motherfucker flight boss, bitch. Goddamn air. Love y'all on Earth.